right, welcome back to Three Ball Walk. It's the second segment we're doing on travel baseball and what that means for the game of the future. Landon is our special guest today as a coach of the Gainesville Ghost. And Julio was talking to him about the difference between high school and travel ball.
And I think at the beginning, Landon, at the age of 8, 9, 10 years old, you got to make that decision. When do I stop playing Little League, Babe Ruth, or whatnot, and move to travel? And then I think towards the end, when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, there's that conflict between high school baseball and travel baseball. Where's the precedent set, and how do you know where, you know?
I think for each player, each family, it's probably different. I can tell you, I think from my perspective, from where I sit, I think there's a place for both. I think there's harmony there, and I think you need both. I think both are important. I'm not willing to put one ahead of the other at this point, because from a travel perspective, right, large platforms showcasing talent, whether it's in the fall or in the summer, high school is that day-to-day preparation, right? And we're talking about trying to be seen or elevate to the next level, but some of the best things about playing the game are the memories with your teammates in the locker room. And I can share with you a lot of experiences that I had in baseball that had nothing to do with doubles or home runs. It had to do with being in the locker room with my guys in high school and walking around on campus, and that's important, and that, you know, can't get lost. So when we're talking about which one is ahead of the other, or how do you balance the both, or is there conflict, you just got to schedule it and balance it and make it work.
Since the seasons don't, intersect, do you find that high school ball for the advanced player is more like a spring training for the travel season?
I don't know if I want to label it that. I think you bring up a good point there, right? Good analogy. But again, you're trying to compete at the high school level to win state titles, right? I mean, so that's not changing there either. So, but I mean, reps every day, every week. You know, having those live reps, those live games to try to help you stay ready, not get ready, but maybe stay ready for showcasing what you can do during the summer, I think is important.
I know when I was in high school, we played Little League ball all the way through, and we played high school baseball, and you ended up playing against guys all the time, and they were your rivals. And so at the end of our high school season, we decided that we were going to put together a team to play in league. And so we essentially made our own travel team. We drafted a few guys off this high school team, They were all surrounded it, and we decided we were going to play. We got one of the dads to sponsor it, buy the uniforms, and we got one of the older brothers to coach it who was in med school, so all he did was show up and sign the card, and we called our own signals, and we made our own plays, and we set our own starting lineup. And we won every game, of course, because we picked the best players off all the high school teams and played everybody. That seems to be much like a travel team, but we did that on the back end. How difficult do you think it is for your boys who are now playing against one another, who played together, and guys who have been on, 10, 12, 14, 20 travel teams throughout their growing up age, to suddenly now find themselves in a dugout with a bunch of people who may not be as good as them in high school baseball?
Yeah, I mean, finding the right fit, whether it's with the right team or the right academy, right, I think is important for families. Because again, if we're talking about showcasing on a much larger platform, you're going to find yourself on teams that have really, really good players, maybe in some cases better than you at a certain position. You may find yourself with an academy and a team that maybe doesn't quite stack up to what you're used to, whether that's in the high school arena or the travel arena. So it's important to understand values, right, as a family, as a player. Know what you want, what the end goal is, and make sure that the academy or the high school is on that same page to help you get to where you want to go.
And I think that's something that, turning a little bit but staying on the same subject, is you talk about getting reps and playing and doing the academy. And how much is too much? How much is too many reps? How much is throwing too many pitches? And at a youth level, the injury of playing, the probability of injury of playing year-round, is there a limit?
It's a fascinating question, and there's a lot of discussion and a lot of research surrounding that point. And what's the right answer? Again, I think it varies on the athlete, but what you have to pay attention to is in these in these arenas where you're in a stressful environment, right? Whether you're on the mound pitching for your high school to win that midweek game, or trying to win that Friday night start, or you're on a Saturday and you're pitching in front of the University of Florida or another SEC elite school. You got to make sure that you build in time for rest. You got to make sure that you balance that out, right? Because putting strain on the arm at a young age, right, is you got to be aware of that.
How many games? There's one stat that I read that says some players who are in travel ball can play up to 120 games a year. That's more than minor leaguers play.
Yeah.
At a very young age, and not even just pitchers, just regular players, just regular guys throwing. My cousin's son is a perfect example. Loved baseball, played travel ball his whole life, played with all kinds of teams out in West Coast, East Coast. I mean, everybody wanted him to play. And then he goes his first year to junior college and has to have Tommy John surgery as an infielder, not a pitcher, as an infielder. Now, I never knew anybody who was an infielder that ever had Tommy John surgery.
Right.
But I think a lot of it had to do with the fact of how much Brady played. I mean, he loved the game. It wasn't like he was being pushed. He wanted to play. But the same kind of thing, playing that many games all year long, that has to do something to you. And the Cincinnati Reds team doctor is saying he's doing more Tommy John surgeries on younger players than he's ever seen in his life. He blames it on overuse and abuse of travel baseball. How would you respond to that?
I would say 120 games is probably on the extreme end, right? But I think what we're hearing, what we're saying, what we're talking about is playing games year round, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's more to baseball than playing games, right? It's how are you training, right? How are you taking care of your body?
Yeah.
So to go out and play baseball year round doesn't necessarily mean that you got to play games, every weekend, right? Or every other week.
And talking about Tommy John surgery real quick, especially for the younger people who might be viewing this, when you have a pitcher, say he's 12, 13, how many kids do you see trying to break one off at that young age when they should just be concentrating on getting the fastball over the plate as a coach? Because I know that when I was a kid, I was the worst baseball player ever. I could not hit the ball. The ball hit me plenty, but I could not hit the ball. But when you throw the ball, I knew kids at 12 who were trying to throw curveballs. And the coach said, no, just work on your fastball. As a coach, how hard is it for you to get kids just to focus on the basics, letting their arm mature to a different level?
Yeah, understanding what you're trying to accomplish, right? I mean, there are coaches out there are some teams out there that win at all costs, right? And again, you got to put. I mean, we're talking about young athletes here, youth athletes, and keeping them healthy is most important, right? And if you have an opportunity to win a game or win a championship, then great. But I think you have to understand what it takes to prepare leading up to that game, and then what it takes to post game take care of your body, and making sure that you're training the right way. So a lot of injuries are happening because there's so much stress being put on the arms, but are they throwing enough? There's a lot of research out there right now that says kids aren't throwing enough, right? They're pitching all the time, right? They're putting that stress on the arm all the time, but are they out there throwing? Are they throwing the right way? Are they long tossing? Are they building that arm strength up to be able to handle that workload that we're finding?
And part of it too is the rest of the muscles. And I know, yes, I played baseball, but I played basketball and whatever. I think part of our sons who are friends, I think I don't want to call it stress, but the drive to win and be successful at baseball was offset by the joy and fun they got out of basketball and volleyball. Remember that?
Right,
and
yeah.
and they were playing a different sport, but the pressure wasn't there.
Right, but there's so many people who don't play anything else.
That was what I was leading to. How important is it to play other sports
Diversify.
when they're young?
I think it's extremely important. And I'm a big proponent of having kids, young athletes play multiple sports, as long as they're in a good environment, in a positive environment, they're having fun at a young age. I think that's what's going to help them stay active and want to grow within whatever sport they find themselves kind of maybe specializing into down the road. But
And studies will also show that it's developing other muscles that may keep them from getting injuries in baseball as well.
But there were guys who played baseball forever. I mean, there were guys in our era when we were growing up that played all the time.
Nolan Ryan's still pitching.
Right,
Right now.
that they throw all the time. But the difference, I think, was when you're out playing with your friends in the neighborhood, you're not trying to throw the ball 92 and throw it by somebody. You're just throwing a BP fastball in there, let them hit it, and you go chase it through the parking lot, through the yard. Where these kids now are so much stress, so much pressure, some by parents, some by those coaches that you mentioned, some by people who make their living by running a baseball academy or a travel baseball team, that they find they have to compete so hard every time that not only is it stress physically, but stress mentally that gets a kid who burns out at 14 or 15,
Right.
gets in high school and says, I don't want to play baseball anymore, who's a great baseball player. How do you as a coach offset that, and how do you as a parent offset that?
It's one that you battle with, right? And I think what's interesting is going through it initially with my oldest son, and now having an opportunity to step back, catch my breath, and then go through it again with my youngest, is don't rush it. You've got time. You've got time. Enjoy where you are in the moment, right? Try not to look too far ahead down the road, right? No one's probably going to earn a scholarship at the age of 7, right?
Not
so
many.
we don't need to break that curveball off to win that game at the age of 7.
Right.
So there's a process, and enjoy the moment in the process that you're in, and understand that there's going to be a time for what you described. And at 10 years old, that's not it necessarily.
For parents who are watching, or like I said, players who are watching today, you being a coach, Julio being a coach, what we talked about developing your entire body. At what age do you think that begins? And not just your body, but mentally developing your mind to play the game. And is there some place parents can go maybe to get a workout plan for their child to become more physically fit overall, which will benefit them in the baseball growth?
Yeah, I think we've got some great local resources here. Whether it's specialized training that you're looking for, or maybe more general training. I think with technology, you got videos online that are very credible that you can learn from and help your son or daughter train to get to where they would like to be.
Do you have one final question?
No, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and it's interesting. I was asking Landon today. The very first video ever played on MTV was "Video Killed the Radio Star," and obviously that ushered in a whole new era of television and reality TV and everything. And hopefully you've done the same for Three Ball Walk. I mean, our very first guest
Yes.
on Three Ball Walk, and I want to thank you for coming and the Ghosts and continued success to you and the little guy, because and I guess a personal note, you can end it with that, and then Eddie will kind of wrap up the show. But is the little guy going to be better than the older son?
There you go.
I don't think I can answer that.
You better not answer that question. If your son sees it, either one of them sees that, you're in trouble.
We'll take that one off.
Now, Landon, you brought some swag for the show.
I did. I feel again honored to be here. I appreciate you guys inviting
We're
me.
happy to have you.
I figured as guest number 1, I should probably bring something to the show. So, as we're winding back time a little bit on this Wednesday, Wind Back Wednesday, I brought and I know that you're a big fan of apparel, so we got a little throwback Ghost hat and a little
Oh, there you go.
throwback Ghost jersey. So I wanted to provide that to you guys for the show. And
Hey,
say-
we'll have to
say
give that one
thanks.
away because ain't none of us can wear it.
Not that one.
Not that one. But Landon, thank you so much for being our guest today,
pleasure.
filling us in on travel baseball for those of us who maybe are a little bit older, have grandkids coming up, children coming up. We want to find some more information about it. One final question before we go. Is there a national organization, or is it pretty much just localized travel teams?
There's both. So you've got organizations like USSSA, and then you've got your local academies that compete and play in different organizations like USSSA, AAU, probably names that you've heard and you're familiar with.
Okay, so you can look that up online. Thanks for being with us today on Three Ball Walk, and always remember, play ball.
Play ball.